Hello everyone, I'm Max, and from now on I will probably make more videos about aviation and more in-depth areas within aviation. And I do understand that in a few days, maybe 2 or 3 days as of now, Boeing Starliner spacecraft will launch, and as a rivalry to the SpaceX Dragon, I will probably also make a video about it, depending on how the launch and entire mission goes, and I'll probably make it after the mission. Today I want to talk about a system on the Boeing aircrafts, the Autopilot system, that is called LNAV. LNAV is short for Lateral Navigation, which is a mode within the Boeing Autopilot that guides the aircraft on the pre-programmed route on the FMC or CDU, and is possibly one of the most popular mode that was used for any sort of navigation laterally, and simply because it's so intuitive and it is a highly reliable mode within the Boeing Autopilot. It was used, I think, right from 737 all the way to today, so the newest possibly 777X or 787. LNAV have, despite being only one mode itself, I like to see it in two different modes. The first is when the aircraft is within a range of the program route. So on the 737, it's going to be 3 nautical miles. Within 3 nautical miles, LNAV have full authority. Hence, so for example, if you're pointing wherever you want, you can have any heading. LNAV would always be able to try to bring the aircraft to the route at the right direction. However, outside of 3 nautical miles, LNAV is a lot more selective to engage. So LNAV will not engage unless the aircraft is at an intercept course to the route of the program route, and not only that, need to be in the correct direction. So that means it cannot be going backwards and to the route, despite you eventually being able to intercept it. Overall, that is basically what LNAV does. It tries to guide the aircraft on a pre-programmed route and bring it for the entire flight. Usually the pilots will select LNAV and VNAV, which I'll talk about next time, on the ground when they're doing their pre-flights, and once they take off after the toga modes that gets disengaged, LNAV will just take over and bring the aircraft through the departure pattern and all the way through the flight and do the star, so the arrival pattern. And if the aircraft is doing the RNAV approach, then it will also be used for the approach. The few reasons that LNAVs can be disengaged mid-flight, the most common reason is simply because the aircraft have captured the localizer on the ILS when they're doing the approach, and automatically if the pilots have selected LOC or APP, which is localizer or approach mode, on their MCP, then the aircraft will switch over once they reach the criteria for those modes. Another potential reason for LNAV to disengage or not engage is simply because there is a discontinuity within the route. So for example, if you're approaching into for example Denver, and one of the stars end and you have an ILS approach to another runway, there is a gap, at least as far as I know for Denver, between the end of the star and the start of the ILS approach. So there can be a discontinuity within it, and during that gap, the pilots need to fly with vectors, basically heading select, and simply because LNAV cannot find a route to follow, because within that region there's no route, it's simply space in the Autopilot system's perspective. So that is also a reason why LNAV might not engage or disengage. Some other reasons can be things like the pilots themselves intentionally switching off LNAV and changing to other modes, most likely heading select. And yes, so those are the main reasons that LNAVs might not engage. However, overall, LNAV is a very reliable system, and despite I'm talking about the Boeing system right here, Airbus also have a very similar system that does very similar things. It's named differently. It's just called, for example, on the Airbus MCP, at least on the A320, it's just called navigation, and shortened as NAV. However, the principles of the two systems are similar, and I want to talk about LNAV because it is one of the most important system and most straightforward system within the autopilot system on Boeing and Airbus aircrafts, and it allowed many pilots and different aircrafts to do things such as RNAV approach, RNAV stars, that is not really possible without it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and next time I will discuss VNAV, which is LNAV but following a vertical profile on how much to climb, how much to descend, and it is a bit more complex. It has two different modes, VNAV speed and VNAV path, and overall it's going to be a bit more interesting than LNAV, so stay tuned for next time. Thank you.